Hello everyone, and welcome to Lesson 8, How to Build Your Vocal Booth. Last time I talked about sound treatment and how sound reflects inside of a booth. This time, I want to show you how to build one for professional work, so I'll be skipping over all the stuff I already covered. Vocal booths come in many forms, and the most common vocal booths come in either sound-treated plywood panels or as a frame and blanket setup. These reduce the sounds that reflect inside of the booth and allow for a clean and clear audio. But if you're looking for a more budget-friendly option, a home closet can often be exactly what you need if you don't have the money to spend on a professional booth. Many voice actors start out recording in their closets with their clothes to absorb noise. Another budget-friendly option is PVC and moving blanket booths, which are very common in the industry. A home studio doesn't need to be complicated in order to get vocal work. It just needs to have good sound treatment to land roles. You can have the best microphone in the world, but if your booth space isn't treated, you will not land your auditions. Listen for echoes and boxy sounds coming from your audio. If any background noises like cars driving by or dogs barking in the background or children running around the house are in your audio, then companies will not risk having you on as a voice actor for their project. They don't want unwanted noise in their audio, so you have to have a place that's quiet that doesn't echo or sound muffled. A lot of voice actors think they need soundproof booths when they get into the industry. However, this isn't really the case. This tends to be a common misconception, as all you need for a booth is a sound-treated space. To get a fully soundproof booth would cost tens of thousands or if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the physics that go into one are more complicated than most voice actors know how to design.
Okay, now here's a balloon pop in the anechoic chamber.
So what's the difference? Soundproofing blocks all outside noises and absorbs a lot of outside and in-booth sounds. As a voice actor, this can actually work against you. Having too much sound treatment can cause your audio to sound dead or muffled. You do not want this in an audio recording. It can actually pull your listeners out of the story you are trying to tell. For instance, this audio right here is very deadened compared to what you were listening to before. Audio like this can be very distracting no matter what genre of voice acting you are in. It sounds odd, and the human brain doesn't like unnatural phenomena that it is not used to. This includes audio. Ask any music composer about Haydn's Surprise Symphony or Through composition, and they can tell you more. You can think of it like talking on a phone. How do you know the other person is still on the phone? Usually there's background music, noise, hiss, or someone is talking on the phone. But what happens if somebody stops talking and no audio is heard? Your brain starts to automatically think that the person hung up or the call got disconnected. This pulls your attention away, and you start to wonder if the person is still on the other side of the phone, rather than focusing on the next part of the conversation. This is the same concept when it comes to audio in vocal work. This simple mistake can create a distracting atmosphere for the listener and pull them out of the scene that you are trying to build. You want to avoid this as a voice actor. Now, with that said, let's dive into the actual build of the booth. The standard voice acting booth will usually take up a 5x5 space. It can be a little smaller or a little bigger depending on what you wish to do with your booth. Mine is about 6 feet tall to accommodate my average frame, and it allows me to be able to stretch my arms out to act in front of the microphone without hitting anything in my booth. Mine is a 5 foot by 3 foot, and it's made of moving blankets as I stated in my last video. You will want a way to light your booth that isn't a fire hazard. And you'll also need a way to do Zoom calls like a webcam or Discord. And you will also want a way to have ventilation inside of your booth, so that way you can get the proper amount of cooling and oxygen when doing voice acting. Make sure to eliminate as many hard surfaces as you can inside of your booth to reduce sound reflecting off of these objects. And substitute soft objects for hard ones wherever you can. Always do sound tests on your booth to ensure that you are getting the best audio possible in your DAW. This also means making sure that unwanted noises do not come into the booth when you are doing a recording. Editing your audio only does so much, so you want to make sure your audio is clean and clear when you first record, because sometimes no amount of editing will fix a bad recording. In your booth, you will want a microphone, an iPad or computer monitor to read scripts from, and an audio interface with XLR cords, and possibly a very soft and quiet chair for when you are resting between reads. Typically, you will want to be standing when you do your voice acting in your booth, and you may even want printouts of your scripts so that way you can mark them up and read them as you go in physical form. Do not keep your computer or anything else that makes noise inside of your booth, because it will be picked up by your microphone and you do not want that. You will also want a place to keep water and maybe even some green apples or tea so you can use them if needed during a recording. When building your booth, you will need to plan it out, preferably by drawing it out or mapping the floor plan and the exact dimensions that you will need. As stated before, a 5 foot by 5 foot by 6 foot booth is generally the minimum or the standard when it comes to a proper booth size, but you will want to build it according to your height and wingspan. The first number being the length, the second number being the width or the depth, and the last number being the height. So for some, a 4 by 4 by 5 may be better, or a 6 by 6 by 7, depending on how fun-sized you are. Some voice actors tend to go bigger or smaller, which is fine too. It just depends on your preference and your voice. And what does this mean in regards to you actually building the booth? Well, if you're not using a closet, you will want PVC, which you can find at any home improvement store like Home Depot or Lowe's if you are in the USA. This is sprinkler pipe and it is usually white. It's fairly cheap in regards to pipe, and it's lightweight and sturdy enough to hold up heavy blankets. The pipe typically doesn't resound or vibrate when doing vocals, unlike metal pipe, which will. You will also need a pipe cutter to cut the pipe with. You squeeze them like pliers to drive the blade down, using a built-in ratchet in increments, and then pull the handles apart to open the jaw. I would recommend using 3/4 inch to 1 inch diameter pipe if you want your booth to be sturdy. I've seen booths in person that use 1/2 inch diameter, but they tend to bend and are rather flimsy, the bare minimum required for a useful frame. But they could be good for smaller booths if desired. Just keep in mind they will bend and sway quite easily under weight, so the longer they are, the more you're gonna get in that regard. 1 inch diameters require larger hands and strength to pull apart. However, they can take the blows of a rubber mallet pretty well. It just depends on how difficult you want your booth to be when putting it together and taking it down. When in doubt, 3/4 inch is a happy medium for a booth frame. For these dimensions, I have rounded to the nearest inch or 1/2 centimeter depending on what unit of measurement you are using. Feel free to adjust the lengths if you need to fit it to your home space. However, I would not recommend going smaller than a 4 by 3. If you've never done a project like this before, it's actually rather easy. Get yourself a tape measure and measure out the exact dimensions that you want. Keep the measurements to easy numbers that you can remember, that way you don't mess up your measurements. Take a marker and draw a line on the spot where you're measuring to, and then cut on the marked line when you are ready. If you've done it right, you should have an even number of pipes that measure the same lengths in sets or pairs. This is a great way to double check your work. Place the pipes next to each other and make sure they all look the same in length according to each set. If you are doing a 5 by 5 by 6, you will have 8 5-foot pipes for the floor and ceiling, and 4 6-foot pipes for your vertical supports. You should also have 8 corner pieces to connect all the pipes. In my booth, I doubled up on supports so that way the pipes would not bend in the middle under weight, which comes to 6 6-foot pipes. Yours could be 8 if you are doing a square booth as opposed to my rectangular one. You will need T-connectors for each end, which equates to 4 for me or 8 for a square booth if you are putting these supports in. I also have a roof lattice that tends to be a bit trickier for dimensions, but adds more strength to the top of the piece. I have a 4-way connector for the center, and the pipes are less than half the length and width dimensions, which means a pair of 5-foot pieces would measure out to be about 2 feet 5 inches, and a pair of 3-foots would be about 1 foot 5 inches, remembering that there are 12 inches in a foot, and that half of that would be 6 inches. If you're afraid that you'll make an error in your cuts, just remember to make the pipes a little bit longer than you want, and you can always cut off smaller portions later as you go if you need to trim up your booth. You unfortunately can't glue the pieces back together if you cut off too much, and you'll need an entirely new pipe. So unless you know a good sprinkler guy who can tinker with PVC glue, I wouldn't recommend cutting it shorter rather than longer. Which reminds me, the hardware store clerk probably will recommend that you have PVC glue, and I would not recommend using that unless you never want to take your booth apart ever again. That glue essentially welds the pipes together, and it does a great job of that because it has to make a watertight seal. So, yeah. Now, in regards to moving blankets, there are many different qualities and different prices for different ones. I myself use some fairly cheap ones from Harbor Freight. However, if I had to do it over again, I would probably pick thicker blankets. Make sure that when you pick moving blankets that you actually pay attention to whether the blanket is sewn or felt. You want to avoid the felt ones because they are cheap and they can fall apart, but they are also thinner in certain areas and noise can travel easily through these thinned out areas. The sewn ones have built-in insulation. The thicker they are, the better. But that also makes them heavier. You want to balance out what weights your PVC pipe can hold in regards to the blanket. 6x6 blankets work best for my booth. That equates to 1 blanket per side and 1 for the top, so 5 blankets in all. I did spend a little bit more money putting grommets in and using shower hangers to slide the blankets back and forth across the openings of my booth, and at the end it cost me about $300. You can easily make a 5x5x6 booth for around $200 in just PVC and moving blankets. But it can go as high as $400 depending on how much material, quality, and work you want to put into it, and that doesn't include your desk and computer. This also does not include the foam, which can be another $50 to $150. I highly recommend the 2-inch thick foam on Temu. Sure, it can be hit or miss, but you can usually get a refund pretty easily for just losing the time spent on shipping. Most of the similar quality foam can be anywhere from $40 to $80 for just a pack of 12, which would cover only one wall of your booth if you're lucky if you're doing a wood panel booth. To me, a pack of similar quality foam was worth the hassle for a quarter of the price. Pay careful attention to the prices and the reviews to know if you're getting a good product or not on Temu. Sometimes it can be hit or miss. The foam wedges and base traps were also of decent quality, so I also recommend those too. And speaking of wood panel booths, I have not actually had any experience of building one. And I don't want to give you the wrong information, so unfortunately you'll just have to ask around the voice acting communities or classes about how those people build theirs. There's a lot more that goes into them, so they are not as simple or as cheap as moving blanket booths. Sorry if I bummed you out in that regard, but to make up for it, I'll give you a very useful tip that could actually save your life if you choose to do one. As a carpenter, I learned that power tools can be very dangerous if you are not familiar with how they work. If you are cutting wood panels with a table saw, do not, under any circumstance, twist the wood left or right as you are cutting it. This will cause the saw to bind on the wood and it will throw the wood back at you. The force is so immense it can even pull your hand into the saw, especially if you are wearing gloves. This is how carpenters usually lose their fingers. Never pull a wood piece into a saw blade. Always push it away from you when you are cutting, and never get your fingers close to the saw blade. Use a scrap piece of wood to push the rest of the wood through if you need to, or better yet, get a carpenter who's experienced to do it for you. Even if they're dumb, at least you're the one who's not losing your fingers, right? Right. Sometimes the smart path is the one that pays in dividends, even when you don't recognize the benefits. And keeping your flanges is definitely a benefit, I would say. Okay, that said, your big homework for these next 2 weeks is to draw up a blueprint for the vocal booth that you want and sketch out its dimensions. As always, make sure you are doing things safely and take into account fire hazards when you're setting up your booth. Some of this stuff is pretty flammable, so you will want multiple exits or at least a fast way out if something goes wrong. Keep them away from sparks and heat sources, and you should be good to go. I'm Tategami, and I will see you in the next lesson on how to become a voice actor this year. Thanks for watching. If you want to continue to join me on my voice acting journey, then don't forget to subscribe to me on YouTube or join my Patreon for more videos where you can hear practice reads, blooper reels, or even my experiences of getting into voice acting. Who knows, maybe you can even join this disabled guy on his journey. Thanks again, and as always, stay safe out there.